This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
When you walk into Mittens Western Wildlife Travel Center here in Oakley, then the first thing you notice is the taxidermy, and it's pretty phenomenal. There's a buffalo coming out of the wall. There are these massive deer and elk mounts and flying geese and just all kinds of cool stuff. And of course, you know you're in the West when the taxidermy starts showing up in public places. Not just museums, not just the living rooms, but grocery stores, and all those places that we don't normally see taxidermy. And it got me thinking about the history of taxidermy, and I went to mentalfloss.com. Once again, folks, doing deep archival research just for you. I think this story is fascinating. And of course, I had to share my two most favorite pieces of taxidermy here in Kansas. And of course, number one is Comanche at the Dyke Museum of Natural History, which is full of incredible mounts. The second one is the little squirrel wedding in Oberlin at the Last Indian Raid Museum. And while some people are kind of freaked out, I think it's stinking hilarious. So let's take a look at the history of taxidermy. While at Drexel's Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia a few weeks ago, I picked up a wonderful piece of literature, Crap Taxidermy. Actually, my friend Carol picked it out as a gift for Dr. Jake. Perfect for a veterinarian, she said. I started thinking about taxidermy and all the wonderful pieces and some not so wonderful pieces I have seen, and began pondering that age-old question. When did people start stuffing animal skins and putting them in the living room? The word taxidermy comes from the Greek words for arrangement and skin. There's a real Hannibal Lecter moment for you. The first person to use this word was Louis de Fresne of the Natural History Museum in Paris, according to mentalfloss.com. According to the website, taxidermy began in England in the early 19th century. An increased demand for leather meant that tanning, turning an animal's skin into preserved leather, became commonplace, and this made preservation of species cataloged by naturalists possible. Victorians often dressed stuffed animals in clothes and worked them into tableaus, like our squirrel wedding. They were obsessed with animals that were deemed curiosities, deformed creatures with extra legs or heads. Lots of us have seen evidence of this in the two-headed calf at the fair many years ago. Early taxidermy mounts were stuffed with sawdust and rags without regard for actual anatomy, so the models were often disfigured. In fact, mounts from those days skewed how we imagined creatures, like the long-extinct dodo bird. In fact, when Captain John Hunter sent the first pelt and sketch of a platypus back to England in 1798, many assumed it was a hoax, that someone had sewn a duck's bill to the coat of a beaver. Museums began to use mounts as educational tools, like the diorama at the Dyke Museum on KU's campus. It exhibits animals depicting their natural habits, from the plains to the mountains to the jungles to the Arctic. President Teddy Roosevelt, avid hunter and conservationist, took animal trophies because he feared some of these animals would be extinct, and he wanted to preserve them for generations to come. Skewed logic, perhaps, but well-intentioned. When you explore Kansas, share some of your favorite taxidermy photos with us on Facebook. Who knows? Maybe we could put together our own book of taxidermy. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on three main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.